Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode. It's most unfortunate that even now in the cryptocurrency space, although maybe it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, we can't exactly be putting our guards down. Not everyone is marketing themselves in the most honest way, and that also applies, unfortunately, to decentralized exchanges, or maybe I should say decentralized exchanges. So today I'm going to be going over all the ways that these exchanges are misrepresenting themselves, all the ways that they can be centralized, how that centralization can affect you, and of course, lastly, going over some specific decentralized exchanges along with their pros and cons. There's a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. Now, before I get into today's video, I do want to do another quick reminder that thank you, first of all, for those of you who have joined my Patreon page. I certainly appreciate it. Definitely helps with the support of this channel. You guys can go to patreon.com/cryptotips, join the CT Club, because on Wednesday, April 15th at noon Eastern Time, I'll be hosting a live chat style free class for talking all about wallets and custodianship. Talk about custodianship, very appropriate, especially for today's topic. So for those of you who want to expand your wallet options and storage for your cryptocurrencies, maybe there's a better option out there for you. You don't know it yet. Don't miss that class. It's free. Join the CT Club, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Okay, now let's get into today's video. So right off the bat, especially for those who are relatively new to this whole beautiful world of decentralized exchanges, here's a little surface level expectations of what you should have when you're approaching things like decentralized exchanges. First of all, you're probably going to notice that quite a few of these decentralized exchanges operate solely within the Ethereum ecosystem with Ethereum and ERC20 tokens. Now, albeit there are a whole lot of ERC20 tokens, so that's not exactly limiting in the number of coins. But if, say, you want to be trading something like Bitcoin for Ethereum, there's a hiccup there. Now, the reason being that the Ethereum ecosystem is quite large compared to any others because they have facilitated these new tokens to be created. And also with that comes a large development community that are there to build, supporting technologies to help that along. Also, you're probably going to notice that most decentralized exchanges only work for crypto to crypto trades. So for those of you who are looking to enter this cryptocurrency space by using fiat, you will find that your options for using decentralized exchanges for that are limited. But I do have one free to check out. Just wait for that at the end of this video. Also, moving on, some things at a more deeper level that I think are very important for you to, number one, be aware of, and number two, to actively investigate for these different decentralized exchanges that you want to participate in. And that is pretty much the level of decentralization. I've said it time and time again, centralization can be found in many different ways, and decentralized exchanges are no different. So here are some ways that any exchange can be centralized. Now, the number one thing that I think is important here is custodianship, which at least I'm glad that there are some exchanges that are taking that step. That is the bare minimum, but is an important bare minimum. So just always be in mind of keeping possession of your cryptos. Don't give them to anyone. Next is to be very wary of any decentralized exchange that has a centralized leadership role position like a CEO or is centrally headquartered. Because although we aren't exactly seeing yet this time of sweeping governmental regulations and enforcements, because luckily this space is decentralized at least a little bit in the fact that it makes it kind of difficult for them to implement and enforce those kinds of regulations and laws. But we have seen many decentralized exchanges that have been, again, marketing themselves as a decentralized exchange, and they have succumbed to those governmental pressures due to whatever jurisdiction they are located in because they're centrally located, or because they have a public leader figure, which it's a very bright and shiny target for any governmental organization to put some pressure on for them to make some changes for the exchange. This might result in the swift shutting down of that exchange, which, if it is non-custodial, that shouldn't affect the users so much as in they're losing their funds. But it can also play out in ways like forcing that decentralized exchange to implement KYC restrictions and requirements onto their users, which is actually far more likely. And we've already seen this past summer, it happened with CryptoBridge, a pretty well-known decentralized exchange, one that I featured several years ago. But, apparently they weren't as decentralized as they were claiming to be, because if they were, they wouldn't have to be, submitting to the KYC process and passing that burden on to their users. Not to mention the fact that they were essentially holding the coins on their exchange through the smart contracts that they used. I'm pretty sure that's how it was organized. There were many users that were unable to access their funds until they had gone through the extensive KYC process. That again was that information was being sent to a random third party, which they can hold indefinitely. I did have someone comment that they went through that and they actually contacted that KYC company and they requested that their information be deleted. So they at least have that option. But again, whether or not that goes through is yet to be seen. But I just want to reiterate here, I'm saying this because there is strength in decentralization that will benefit you and your privacy. And so that's always something you should be pursuing. And it's always worth it to be paranoid of an exchange's centralization so that you're not then all of a sudden subjected to governmental regulations that you wouldn't have been already if it was actually decentralized. Also, something that I think a lot of people take for granted or look past is the fact that a decentralized exchange, if it is hosted as just a website with a centralized servers that it is being hosted on, some people take that for granted. They think just because, not any one person controls it, that's good. But you forget that those centralized servers can become hacked if it is not properly secured. And we actually saw that again, 3 years ago with the Ether Delta hack. A hacker got in and was able to control the website through the back end and, pretty much take control of people's funds as they were depositing it onto the website. They're depositing it right into the wallet of the hacker. So there's that phrase, the medium is the message. There you go. The medium that you interact with the decentralized exchange is definitely something to be aware of as well. So let's say you were looking for a perfectly decentralized exchange. Here are some bullet points I think you should look for. They use atomic swaps, which are purely peer-to-peer and they occur instantaneously. Also look for a DEX that is hosted on a local application that you access on your computer, not through a centralized website, or they use a decentralized website. You can often see those are used with a .crypto domain name. And lastly, of course, you got to look for the dev team that doesn't boast having this really cool public figure CEO guy, but instead they are organized as something like a DAO or a decentralized autonomous organization. Now, with these in mind, here is what I found over some of the most commonly talked about or often recommended decentralized exchanges. Now, just like my last video that went over my recommendations for centralized exchanges, if I have to recommend a centralized exchange, those would be the ones, or at least those are the aspects that I would look for within a centralized exchange if I had to use one. Same here. I'm not going to be listing every single decentralized exchange just because this video would be way too long. So instead, as always, I'm trying to equip you all with the tools that you will need to investigate your own decentralized exchange. If there is another one that comes across, gets your attention, you want to form an opinion on it, I think this framework that I've talked about today during this video is a great place for you to start. So this first one is a DEX that I have spoken about many times before in the past, and it is BlockNet. This one is all about blockchain interoperability, which I think is just a great kind of mindset to have in this space, wanting, open collaboration, open source sharing, just in an effort to make improvements to everyone in this space. So because of that, they do operate with coins that are outside of just the Ethereum and ERC20 ecosystem, for example, Bitcoin, and a lot of other different cryptocurrencies as well. So this next one, for those of you who are always asking for a good decentralized exchange that offers a fiat on-ramp for you wanting to buy or sell Bitcoin for cash, is BISC. Now, I will say that this one very, very recently suffered a hack that resulted in the loss of something like $250,000 worth of coins between Bitcoin and Monero. Mostly Monero was stolen. But unfortunately, that did happen. It was some software bug that a hacker was able to take advantage and manipulate the wallets that the people were withdrawing into. So it's not perfect, but it is a fiat on-ramp, and it is also very privacy oriented. They're not asking you to register any kind of information to take part in the exchange. They don't want to know any of your business. Most of the trades taking place are for Bitcoin or Monero. Also, the servers run through Tor, so there is no threat of like a centralized server takeover. And they also operate as a DAO, or a decentralized autonomous organization, like I spoke about before. But that being said, if you wanted to become something like a mediator or arbitrator for BISC, you will be subjected to the decision of the DAO. The next one up is IDEX. It is a very popular decentralized exchange for the Ethereum ecosystem. Some of it might see it as a replacement for Ether Delta. And if you're looking to use a decentralized exchange for Ethereum, it's probably going to be this one. The UI is very familiar compared to something like a centralized exchange. When you want to make a trade, you are depositing your coins into a smart contract, not into a centralized custodianship situation. Also, you can use your hardware wallet, like your Ledger, for example, to interact with IDEX. So in that way, it is more user-friendly. Next up, we have another one that is specific to the Ethereum ERC20 token ecosystem, is Kyber. Now, this one works like instant swaps, much like Shapeshift or Changely, but I do believe that they allow also for spot orders. So you can put an order in for a specific price on Kyber. The last DEX that I want to talk about here is brought to us by Komodo. It is called Atomic DEX. It is what they're calling their third generation DEX. They've pretty much been a huge pioneer for atomic swaps. They've been working on them for quite some time. Now, I did a video on Komodo and their decentralized exchanges, something like, I think like 3 years ago also, called Barter DEX. And at that point, for that decentralized exchange to use their atomic swaps, I believe the users had to download the blockchains for both of the coins that they would like to, conduct using the atomic swaps. So quite cumbersome for the users. But this Atomic DEX, they provide their users with a wallet that stores up to like 25 different cryptocurrencies, again, within the Bitcoin, Ethereum, outside of Ethereum, any UTXO-based coins, which is great and definitely more user-friendly than what they were working on before. It is still in beta, so definitely still very new. Not going to expect very much liquidity there. Now, unfortunately, this one has a huge negative for me, and that is it is being developed for the iOS and Android applications or phones, so it's a mobile, they're aiming towards mobile users. I am not a proponent of encouraging people to use their cell phones and cryptocurrencies, whether it comes to wallets or exchanges. I'll be checking in on this one as it develops over the years, but right now that's kind of a negative for me. So those are all the DEXs I'm going over today. I know there are a whole lot more. I'm sure you guys are going to be leaving your comments down below saying I should have talked about this one or that one. Feel free to have that discussion in the comments. It's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope that you guys found this informative. I hope that you got a better understanding of what really makes a decentralized exchange decentralized and a true DEX. In the meantime, I will be coming to you again soon. I hope you guys are staying happy and healthy. I'll see you soon. Have a good one.